Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am so excited to be part of the September collaboration hop featuring the Spellbinders Club kits. We are going to make a cupcake for all seasons. I know this one is a Halloween card, but this club is amazing. So this is the large die of the month and it's massive. So it has this cupcake and then some Halloween stuff and then some fall stuff. But there's also this add-on set that gives you things for spring and Easter and Valentine's Day. So I'm also pulling in one of these waffle flower circle shaker covers. It's 4¼ inches, and then some Halloween shaker bits. Those are now carried in the Spellbinders store. They've been trying to add things in to make it easier for us to make amazing cards. So I am starting with a circle that I have cut to 4¼ inches, and I just used a die for that. And I'm going to ink blend kind of a spooky panel. So I'm starting with this milled lavender to create a little spot for a moon. And then I'm going to come around the outside with some shaded lilac. I created a mask just with a 1½ inch circle die, and I put some temporary adhesive on the back of it. If I had this to do again, I would do that differently. I would use some masking paper because I heat set the ink when I was done. And when I went to pull that off, it stuck really badly. I was able with my adhesive eraser to eventually get it off. But if you have masking paper, that would work better, or like a Post-it note or a full stick Post-it or something like that. I am coming around now with some Villainous Potion just around the outermost edges. I've got one corner is sort of darker coming in because my moon's on the corner. And then when I'm done with all of those, I'm just gonna sort of go back over with my lighter colors, smooth out the blending around the edges. And then I'm gonna add some black soot distress ink around the very outside. This is not the oxide. This is just regular black soot. It's a little darker and it blends in really easily, but this is the pad that I only use when I'm mixing it with my oxides, because you can see I end up with a little bit of contamination in my pad. It's not real bad, but one of these days I'm gonna mess that up. So now I'm trying to pull off that mask and you can see it's sticking really badly. Oh, I was worried I was gonna have to start over, but it came off eventually. And then once I get everything heat set and I get that adhesive off, I'm gonna come back in one more time with that milled lavender just to create a little bit of glow around where that moon was. This doesn't have to be perfect. We're creating a shaker. There's going to be this giant cupcake on it, right? You're actually not going to see that much of it, but I love how it turned out, right? I don't always attempt a big ink blending something when the focus of my card is die cutting, but I've been doing it more lately and it's been a lot of fun. So I am coming around the back of my circle with some double-sided tape. Whatever the stickiest double-sided tape you have, do that. This might have been easier if I had just used my really wide double-sided tape, but I didn't think about it before I started ink blending. And then here's my shaker cover. It's got a little bit of like film on it that you pull off. It's just there to protect it. And all of these tabs, and this will center perfectly because my circle is 4¼ inches and that sort of front of the shaker's ever so slightly larger than that. So I'm going to pull off about 2/3 of the tape and I'm going to leave some of it on because I still need to add my shaker bits. When I do this, I start on one side and then I go to the opposite side and put up one tab into the adhesive from that side, right? And then I'll do one in the middle of those two and then one at the top. Even though I haven't pulled that tape off yet, I just want to make sure it fits and everything is centered. If you get it a little off, you can kind of pry these up from the double-sided adhesive. It's just acetate. But this way, if I start with one side and then the other, and then the two bits in the middle, I tend not to have any problems with it. It works really, really well. So next we're gonna add our little shaker bits. The brand is Buttons and More, and this is the Boo Sparklets Embellishment Mix. Again, Spellbinders is carrying these now. And I just think they're so much fun. I've got these little like bats flying around in there and some ghosts flying around in there. I just stuck them in a triangle tray to try to improve my aim. Clearly that did not work. But I'm gonna flip this over now and remove the rest of that backer paper from my double-sided tape. And then I will press down my remaining tabs. And it's so quick. Like I would not be able to make a circle card without a pouch like this. And so I was really pleased at how easily this came together. I've added another layer of that double-sided adhesive tape around the outside edges because I find that wet glue is harder to stick to acetate, right? And this is just a way to give me that instant grab on the edges so I don't have to put it under something heavy and then wait for it to dry, but I'll use my wet glue in the middle. Originally, I thought I was just going to make a 4¼ inch circle shaker, but later I'm going to change my mind and I'm going to want a little bit of a matting layer around it. So I could have added this directly onto my matting layer, which is ultimately going to be 4½ inches, and skipped that step. Or you could keep it 4¼ and then it fits nicely in your A2 envelope. Okay, here's the large die of the month. You guys, it's so good. It is so good, and it comes together really, really easily. The cupcake liner has 2 pieces. So I started with craft in the background and then some matte gold on top of that. And then I will add this onto the piece that is the cupcake, right? I love that Spellbinders does such a great job. So you're not fiddling with like just a tiny little piece for the cupcake on top. It also lays nicely on the card because of the way they've designed this. So this piece of frosting, it has an optional insert where you can add those little sort of sprinkle dots or you can skip them. I have cut my frosting out of alternating layers of glossy black cardstock and matte gold cardstock. I just thought this was a really sort of fun Halloween color combination. I already have that purple in the background. And so we're gonna go a little bit glam for this cupcake. I'm gonna add the bottom 2 layers of the frosting straight onto the cupcake with glue. Okay, so the very bottom layer kind of tucks behind, and then I have this second layer on top of it. But after that, I want to make sure that my cupcake is going to fit, and each of these layers kind of tucks behind, and then I want to tuck some goodies into the frosting. So I am not going to adhere those together yet. I'm just laying them out so I know they fit. This is my Ohuhu art marker in RV 130, and I'm just going to use this very pale pink for the eyeball. There are like the little bloodshot veins running through it. I didn't want to make it creepy, so it's just a very pale pink, and then I'm going to go over that with my colorless blender, and it highlights them a little bit without making it a spooky eyeball, really. Is there such a thing as a not spooky eyeball? There are 2 more pieces for that eyeball, so we have the sort of iris that I've done in some teal, and then I did glitter cardstock, black glitter cardstock for the little black piece in the middle. Then here, there's this little stick, so you can put all kinds of your different elements sticking out of the frosting in your cupcake. And I went to add that, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't know my layout. And then I'm going to decide I want it black, so I just used a marker off camera and made it black. And then I have this little ghosty. So I'm going to come in with my blue. These are just alcohol markers, the Ohuhu art markers. And there are some impressed lines to help give him a little more texture and shape. And I'm coming in, actually, I thought this was a paler blue marker than it is. I thought this was my BG4. If I did it again, that's what I would do. So then I'm going over it pretty heavily with my colorless blender just to soften that a little bit. But then I like how he turns out too. Lots of happy accidents in this card, right? So I have my cute little ghost. There's a bat, and then there's like a boo sentiment that we're gonna add. Okay, so I am using, this is micro pour tape. It's just paper tape, medical tape. And I'm gonna tape together the rest of these frosting layers just so I get my spacing right. And then I will kind of tape that to the back of my cupcake. I like this tape because I think glue sticks to it better than a cellophane tape. And I'm gonna lay that on top of my card and make sure I like it. And then I can just sort of flip the layers back one at a time. And I'm gonna add wet glue just to the very edges. So again, I still have the ability to stick something like between the frosting layers. There's just a little bit at the top of each layer that is not glued down all the way. I'm not removing the tape. I just had a little bit hanging over the edge of the frosting. So it tears pretty easily, and I will pull that off as well. So here's my little stick. And I know I'm not gonna try to like get that all the way down in there. I'll just trim him shorter and kind of tuck that in there. I've got some adhesive erasers in the back just to try to get rid of the glare for you guys. But here it is. So I have my cupcake in the middle and then the eyeball. And this way I could decide once it's kind of on the card, which direction that eye is gonna be looking. I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive since I'm gluing it onto acetate. I feel like it grabs a little faster. And then I'm going to drop things all over my project. It's fine. I'll wipe it off. It gets covered up by the cupcake. Not a big deal. Okay, so I'm centering this. It is a big cupcake, but it will fit in landscape on your A2 cards. Okay. And so then I'll put the little stick kind of hanging out there, and I'm going to add the eyeball kind of looking over to the left. I can still see my moon peeking out from behind it, which is why I kind of had that offset to the side. I didn't want it to be like centered back there and you're looking at it going, what is that? And then I'm trying to figure out where to put my ghost. You guys, I tried all kinds of stuff off camera. We're going to stick him on the inside. I'm going to add my bat, and he sort of brings out for me the other bats that are inside my shaker. And then we're going to put this boo together. It's got 2 layers. There's also an option for a yay fall that fits right on top of here. And then once I get that sort of layered together, I will add a little bit of foam adhesive and pop him up off my shaker, just kind of down and to the left. I want to tell you about this hop. It's just some makers collaborating together to give you more inspiration for the Spellbinders clubs, because they're incredible clubs and they're an incredible deal. If you are new to my channel, hi and welcome. I am primarily a die cutter, but I also do some ink blending. I use a lot of Spellbinders products, but then I just bring in whatever's making me happy. I also do some free printables and things like that periodically through the month. I would love to have you join me. Leave me a comment. Tell me you're new to my channel. Let me know what you like about this card, and consider subscribing. So here I'm looking at this going, I really want a border around the edge of the circle. So I brought in my Fluted Classics circle dies, and the largest one is 4.5 inches. And so I'm going to cut out 2 of these in black, and that will give me just the tiniest little border around the outside edge of my card, and I like that better. Does it fit in an A2? It's real tight, and the flap doesn't quite fold shut, but an A6 envelope is just a little bit bigger than an A2, so I will use that one and probably hand deliver this. If I'm honest, I have lots of family in town and most of my cards are hand delivered. So I am just adding this on with wet glue because at this point the back is all cardstock. But if I hadn't added that unnecessary cardstock layer, I'd have done the same thing where it was part double-sided tape around the edges and then wet glue in the middle. So I'm taking one more at 4.5, and I'm going to score this at 3 3/4 of an inch. And that's just going to give me a little flap at the top to turn this into a card instead of just a shaker panel. I'm using some Post-it tape, mint tape, just to find the center of my card. So when I try to adhere these together, it's a little bit easier, right? Circles are always a challenge. So here's my flap, and then I'm going to also add mint tape to the middle of that flap. And when I go to put these together, I'm just lining up that mint tape. And then I know that my flap will open kind of in the top center of my card instead of all cattywampus, though that might have been fun for a Halloween card. So I'm double checking before that glue sets. I'll take that tape off, and really we're almost done. I still have that ghost, right? I have that ghost I thought would fit on the front, but it doesn't. There are so many pieces in this set, you guys. There are leaves and pumpkins. There's a little skull that's kind of cute. And again, the add-on is absolutely amazing. Please check out the large die of the month. I'm just so impressed with it this month. I'm always impressed, but like this one, they outdid themselves. It's so good. That will finish up our card for today. I know I'm going to be putting out more videos this month using this die set because it's so stinking good. Again, please subscribe if you're new to my channel. Leave me a comment, and I will see you next time.